My name is Kaponi and welcome to the Legacy Room brought to you by First Trustees. Like I said, we'll be going to the very basis of it all. And I have two gentlemen and one fantastic lady here to discuss everything that we need to know today with me. I'll leave them to do the introduction and I'll start from my professor.
My name is Abiodun Agbalaya. People call me Sage. Thank you.
My name is Omohefu Okpakodo. Call me Baron.
And my name is Babatunde Adewolu. Call me Babati. Thank you, Michelle, for having us.
You're welcome. So I have Prof. Baron. Baron. Okay. Prof. Baron and Babatin. And we are going to try to just scratch the surface on today's episode of the Legacy Room by just explaining what we mean by estate planning and then now try to understand why people either don't talk about it, don't think about it, or don't even want to plan at all. So, Babati, what's in the simplest of form, layman, I no go school, I no sabi anything. If you want explain wetin estate planning dey to me, how you go yarn am?
Well, just to unpack it, estate planning is just, first, I think one needs to be familiar with the word estate. With technically, it's just a fancy word for like assets, property, right? And then planning it. So planning your property. And what can property be? Property could be cash, it could be real estate, it could be shares, it could be cash flow, it could be, in this modern era, it could be digital assets as well, right? So the aggregate of all the assets that one has, is something that you say is in a person's estate. All right. So planning those how the use and the benefit of those assets devolve down the generations, and even for oneself before one, leaves the legacy behind, is what you call estate planning. So basically, the use and control of assets that you own. That's estate planning
Okay, so
across generations, right?
assets, use, control, and how you pass it on. That's basically what estate planning is.
Yeah.
So, Omo, if estate planning is this simple, why don't people talk about it? Why don't they think about it?
So I don't feel people don't talk about it or they don't plan towards it. It's more like I know, but I feel I have more time, or I know and I feel I'm still too young, or I know and I don't have enough assets to set up one. So it's just a number of factors that can influence people not really getting into it.
But do people really don't have assets? Is that people really don't have assets they can use to start planning?
So people have, but they don't know what you term as assets. So some of them have cash and they don't believe it's an asset. Some of them have cars, jewelries, and they don't feel it's termed asset as well. So
So it's not substantial
Or
enough,
maybe it's not big
basically.
enough for them to
yes.
start thinking
But is
about.
that really true, Prof?
It depends. Again, even for some people that think that they do have some type of asset, sitting down to take that decision is something else. Yes, you know that you're supposed to, almost everybody knows that they're supposed to write a will, but people don't just get to sitting down to actually write it. Sometimes people only have a deeper thought about it, maybe when a friend passes or someone they know they love dearly passes. So it's one of two. And I mean, a combination of a couple of factors. One, maybe I'm not there yet in terms of assets I'm supposed to have, or well, I have those assets, but maybe still too early. Or yes, I'm supposed to do it, but I just don't have time to actually sit down and take that decision in terms of either writing a will, creating a trust, or doing any.
Mm. I mean, for me, I think some of the things that Baron said, if you broadly speaking, viewing it from maybe like an helicopter view, a helicopter view, it looks like some of the reasons are social, cultural, some are personal, right? For the cultural type, I know that with the way some religions that we've taken into Africa, for example, have influenced our thinking. You see people like it's not my portion, right? Because estate planning in a way compels you to think about the use and control of your assets, whether you are here or you are gone. And for some people, it's a bit of a difficult prospect. It's like a specter to say you are thinking about what happens when you're not here. So some people tend to, shrink back from that. So, and there's this culture of not my portion that religion has brought to us a little bit when you are thinking about when you're here. So for some people, it could be that, and it spreads far, because I mean it's the same religion to a massive number of people, and all of us are thinking alike in some ways. Like, my pastor has said it's not my portion, so why am I going to be thinking it's not my time? I'm not dying yet, so why am I thinking about what is happening? No, today is we focus on today. Let tomorrow will take care of itself. All right. But you will see that maybe in some other culture, it's not that deep. People are able to, think about what happens to their assets when they are here and when they have gone. So that's cultural. For personal, some people are just plain lazy, right? Let's not, shrink back from the fact that there are lazy people in the world. It's the one way of human beings to just be lazy, right? Take filing of taxes in the United States, for example. There's a date you have to file taxes, right? Beyond that date, you get into all sorts of trouble, right? But for this one, there's no such hardline dates. So it'll be like, procrastinate. I'll do it later. It's personal. Some people are not that lazy. They'll sit down and get it done now. All right. Like Abeni also said, like Prof said, there are some other reasons, like, people then, if something doesn't shake them to their core, they don't think it's time. Right. So let's say, I remember when I was many years ago when I was still in practice, that's a very popular person, a very senior person in the banking industry, who just was going to have a flight that night. Then he heard about the passing of one of his friends, and he ran down to our law firm then and said, I must write something. I ever asked it's 2 pages. Doc, just give me 2 pages. Let me just write something, because I don't know this thought that come into my head. What if I don't come back? All right. Something shook him to his core, and that led him to. So people don't act until that happens. And there is one more factor which he said, which is, what about the threshold, the mass of assets that you have? Let's be honest. The more your assets, the more complex your estate planning will be.
Definitely.
The less your asset, the simpler it will be. I mean, if I'm a one asset person, I'm all I have my car. What are we
sharing? What are we planning?
Just give the car to one person, or tell her to sell it and share the money in 4 ways. It's simpler. But it's different when you have some things in Virgin Island, Cayman Island, Panama, UK, America. It's more complex. It's more jurisdictional. So those are the things that make people feel that I don't have enough assets. What are we? Let's carry on. So those are.
So to buttress what you said, there was a clip I saw where a daughter was asking her father. So I think he came back from an event, and you're talking about one of their friends that passed. And the daughter randomly asked the father, "Daddy, do you have a will?" And the mother went 360 on her. "God forbid, what's your problem? My husband will not die. He will live to declare the works of the Lord in the land of the living." And I'm like, it's just a simple question. Do you have a will? So I get you that people typically have that mindset that, once I hear will, estate planning, death, I'm going to die tomorrow, so I won't do anything. But then again, when you look at the asset part, people, like someone always says, people are silent millionaires. Take your pension, for example. People will say, I don't have money. Even if it is just the little that goes into your pension account on a monthly basis, people will fight over it too. People will fight over things that you think they won't fight over. But then what is assets to one person is not substantial to another person. So, Omar, if I may, let me now come to you. How then do we now go around people thinking they don't have assets?
So I feel we should have more articles to educate people about what they can term as assets, things they should consider assets, and they don't necessarily have to wait until they have a lot before they get into writing their wills. Because so let me move away a bit. If you go into religion, there's a part where they say you don't wait until you have a lot before you give. You start with the little you have. So I feel no matter how little your asset is, you should learn to actually put it into consideration and look at how you should give it out, how it should be donated or distributed among siblings or family.
Okay. So now let's bring a twist to it. For people that are married, how do you have that conversation with your spouse?
So the interesting thing about that is that, again, depending on we all have different kind of relationships in our marriage, there are people that are very open to with their spouse in terms of the assets that they have. So for someone who is probably hiding properties, hiding money from the spouse, so how would you even begin that discussion, right? So it's one thing that they're hiding these things from their spouse. It's then another thing that you are talking about them discussing these things or even discussing estate planning with their spouse. And the honest truth is, I don't think most people have these conversations.
True.
Absolutely. And look,
Even some people that do have wills, they just do it codedly anyway, and that's it.
so because there are a lot of things that go into wills and even trusts that they are complex conversations. But there's an asset on the ground that needs to be devolved. That needs to
Exactly.
be
And there are beneficiaries that are
yeah.
waiting.
So, for example, sometimes you can have a tension between a couple as to whether to acquire a particular asset or not. Right? Okay, you have done a giddy now, stop on head, you don't go buy the assets. You now want to discuss the devolution with somebody that says you should not buy it and you have gone to do agree to buy. So that's why they say they should not be putting out in couples couples issues. But for instruments like wills and trusts, I can fully understand that conversations, like Prof said, like conversations about how these things are usually you see when you go to write wills for people, they say, oh, you don't. For example, people have two wives. You want to tell your wife
Who do
now.
you want to discuss with
And
among the
so,
two
so
wives?
maybe not necessarily distribution, but having that conversation with your spouse to say, babe, do you have a will? Hope you've sorted out your assets and all
But the
of those things."
conversation about what if he's going to go into
Yeah,
it
it's
then
going
comes
to
up.
devolve into that.
Eh?
Right?
Well, but it is still a difficult conversation that we
Yes.
must have.
Yeah.
And not only with our spouse, with our parents as well. A lot of us have parents that have acquired, they've worked hard during their lifetime. They gave us the best of lives and now they're enjoying these things. But they are forgetting that they are aging and it's now very important for them to document what they own so that it can devolve seamlessly. It's not necessarily because you're not established enough and you think one village uncle or auntie will come and fight you. It's just to ensure that things go seamlessly. So beyond thinking about estate planning and understanding what estate planning is and enlightening our spouse, I think we should also have that conversation with our uncles, our aunties, the elderly ones in the society. You'll be surprised as to the accounts, the assets, the investments that they have that nobody is aware of. You probably just know that, yes, my dad has one property in Festac. Festac is very big. Where in Festac, you don't know. Or he has a flat on Awolowo Road. So there are lots of assets like that that go missing. And the government, most times, is the beneficiary of all of these things, whilst the actual beneficiaries are not getting anything. So what we are trying to see on this episode is that estate planning is not for the wealthy. Estate planning
It's
is
not
not
just-
It's not
it's
just
not
for them.
just for the
Yes.
wealthy. It's not for the elderly people alone. The younger people should also start planning on time. And then this is a conversation that everybody needs to have.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right on that because look, it's not for the elderly alone. Look, they've said that we, the millennials, that we are not as rich as what's that generation after us?
Before
Gen Zs, yeah,
Baby
they are richer
boom,
because
okay,
they are
yeah.
able to access digital assets, and also their way of thinking is a little bit, different from the millennials. So they are able to accrue on the average, especially across the world,
More
more
assets.
assets than the millennials, for example. I mean, there's a theory like that out there. So you can't now say because you are 22 or you are 23,
You
you
won't
might
have a
actually be
plan.
richer than someone that's 44, right?
Correct.
So those are the issues.
Okay, so there you have it, our listeners. All we've said today that no matter your age, no matter your class, no matter how much assets you have or how little you have, it is important that you educate yourself about estate planning. You learn about estate planning, and most importantly, you follow First Trustees across all our social media platforms so that we can enlighten you on how best to go, how to start your estate planning journey from the very beginning. And we'll hold your hands till the very end. So don't forget to subscribe, click on the notification button, and like I said, follow us across all our social media platforms at first_trustees. So thank you to my amazing guest today, and we'll do our signature bye till we see again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaponi.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.